What are standards and conformity assessment? For the purpose of this training session, we will use the definitions that are outlined in the World Trade Organization Technical Barriers to Trade Agreement. In the Technical Barriers to Trade Agreement, a standard is defined as a document that provides a common and repeated use, rules, or guidelines for either products or processes for which compliance is not mandatory. What that means is that a government agency will not enforce a standard. They may be required by purchasers, they may be required to obtain insurance, but the government will not require them. Technical regulations, on the other hand, are documents which lay down characteristics for products or processes for which compliance is mandatory. A technical regulation is a document that a government will require and will enforce with legal backing. Finally, conformity assessment, sometimes referred to as conformance, is any procedure that's used to evaluate whether a product or a service meets a standard. We'd now like to talk about the U.S. system. In the world, there are two primary approaches for setting standards. The first is top-down, and the second is bottom-up. In a top-down system, there is a centralized body that dictates policies and positions that are then forced into the market. Many countries worldwide have top-down systems. The United States, on the other hand, is quite unique. We have a bottom-up system where the actual users of the standards, that could be companies, that may be consumers, or government agencies, drive the standardization activity. Compared with other countries, the United States system emphasizes private sector solutions to ensure quality and to protect environment, health, and safety. We place a very high degree of confidence in private sector conformity assessment activities. Private sector conformity assessment both for regulatory as well as non-regulatory functions. We provide standards users and individual stakeholders with a strong voice and a high level of authority. Our system relies on a strong judicial system, brand name recognition, open media, and corporate social responsibility. Our system is highly decentralized. We believe that there are many benefits to the United States approach to standards. First is speed and flexibility. Solutions can be delivered to the market and implemented quickly. If a standard needs to be changed, modifications can also be made easily. Our system also ensures maximum participation. We can accommodate input from a wide spectrum of stakeholders and ensure that everybody has a voice. And finally, efficiency. Our system prevents unnecessary or costly regulation or unnecessary standardization investment and allows multiple approaches to ensure health, safety, and quality. At the end of the day, the U.S. approach facilitates economic development and innovation in our country. Our regulatory framework, our U.S. regulations rely on voluntary standards. United States regulators use voluntary standards to offset the need for additional regulations or to enhance existing regulations. When regulations are necessary, United States regulators are required by law to use voluntary standards wherever possible. And when those appropriate voluntary standards do not exist, regulators work in partnership with the private sector, standards developing organizations, to develop suitable standards. We have a law in the United States as well as a policy that encourage this practice for regulators. It encourages regulators to use voluntary standards. The National Technology Transfer and Advancement Act, as well as the Office of Management and Budget